What's up everybody, my name is Valox and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to actually be doing a little bit of something different. We're looking behind the scenes of my most recent Five Nights at Freddy's VHS tape, The Return to Freddy's. So I really hope you enjoy as I break things down and show you my processes. Shout out to Battington for the idea, as well as many of you who left multiple comments on my videos to do something like this, where I do a tutorial or behind the scenes. So here we go, let me showcase my work. So our journey actually starts in this very strange location. This was the original design, a really rough concept for how I wanted the actual exterior of Freddy's to look. This was the mall, obviously, but it doesn't look very much like the mall we eventually got. You can see I did like kind of model where the shops would be here and some things that extrude, and this is where the signs would be and whatnot. Added a pillar, just really did base it on a specific image of a Chuck E. Cheese in a mall. I'll actually get that image for you now. If I have a look. So this right here is the mall that I based it off of. You can see that exact same pillar just here, as well as these sort of, I don't even know what you call that, platforms, but you can see how I tried to recreate that in this environment, but instead of Chuck E. Cheese, it says Freddy Fazbear's, using a very similar font and style. This was the original concept. We got the red strip going across, we got the separation between like the brick tiles from the white walls, and you can see this is the start of it. Down here, we actually have my very poor drawing of kind of what I was going for, a rough layout, and yeah, this did not obviously turn out too well and didn't look too good, so I looked online for more inspiration until I come across something very interesting that would change the entire look of this project. This is the Valley View Center Mall, which you may recognize from Kane Pixel series The Oldest View. Now, I've never actually watched The Oldest View, but I do know that it's from that. This exact model, however, was not created by Kane Pixels, nor is it the same one used in his series. It is simply a recreation. Now, it was created by a wonderful person, which I'll pull up right now. So, shout out to the guys whose name I really don't want to butcher, but I'm putting it on your screen now. Shout out to them. Go look at their Patreon. They have some really good models and stuff. They are the creator of this mall map model. It was in the description of the previous video. But yeah, seriously some good stuff from them. So again, shout out and thank you so much for the project file, basically. Now, heading back into the project, you will see that there are some slight differences with my version of this. But things like this were not there, and they are actually Freddy Fazbear posters. So here we have the Freddy Fazbear's poster, where Fantasy and Fun comes alive. As you can see, it's the one from the movie, but I did change the text. I'll go through these posters later on. They're all created in Photoshop. Some more literal than others. Like this, for example, obviously this is taken from the movie with some slight alterations, but then the other posters I did from scratch. And if you come through, you've got the famous goodbye poster that I posted as the original and first teaser for this project. Another obviously big difference is the tables and chairs that are all lined up here, which again was inspired by the mall. You can see all these cluster of tables and chairs. We got the tiled pattern here with the cream sort of coloured walls. Again, red sign, just Chuck E. Cheese. You can really see my inspiration when I put them side by side, and I just plopped it right into the mall. So if I go over to it again, you can see it is literally just an arch. There is nothing behind it. It is just the exterior here, and it I just removed a couple of the shops from this area of the map. I was also supplied with shops alone, which I could easily drag and drop. It was like an add-on. So that allowed me to just implement my own versions of the shops. I just had some duplicated or just placed some around this area just to fill it up a little bit more. And I also included this little Freddy poster to symbolize the movie, since they were the animatronics I ended up using and was the whole aesthetic of this. So if I walk around, you can see we come to the gates and they're locked, obviously. So we head down. The camera does cut here, as we obviously would have been to the generator, but I didn't want to waste too much time showing them going to a generator box somewhere in the mall. So I'm just heading over to Blender 3.6, and you'll see why in a minute, because the camera movement can be a bit problematic. So for the camera movement, I use this add-on for Blender called VirtueCam. It is free, but it doesn't work with the later versions of Blender, like Blender 4.0, which I like to use. It's quicker render times and things just work a lot smoother for me. So I had to go back I had to downgrade it to Blender 3.6. Then I had to convert it to Blender 4.0 again after I'd done all my camera movements with the add-on here, because like I said, it doesn't work in 4.0, but it retains the keyframes. So it meant all the keyframes were intact, and then I just kind of had to look around the map and make sure textures were still in place and things looked good, and they did, so it all worked out well. For the actual interior, which I will get into in a little bit, the conversion back to 4.0 after 3.6, I think some textures were a bit messed up, and I did have to go back and correct those, but sacrifices have to be made for the quality of content, hey? But taking a look at this, you can see that I literally was able to hold my phone connected to my computer and look around my own environment. And I will showcase this in just a second. But you can see right here, you know, looking at the sign was good because I could like lean forward. I just did it sitting in my chair. It was very sensitive, so you do kind of have to be careful with the movement, I will say that. Maybe it's my settings. It was my first time using it and trying out this camera movement, but it all worked out. And then looking down, obviously, so we don't see the fake interior. So if I just remove all these keyframes real quick, since I'm not going to be using this project, we've got a very stiff movement with the camera you can see on the left. But if I go into VirtuCam and I open the app on my phone, because you get it on both devices. So if I open VirtuCam just on my phone, we can just go into start serving on the computer and it loads this QR code. Now, if you have it already on there, like I've got Valox PC written, I can just click it and load back in. But for this sake, we'll use the QR code. So if we just scan that, we now have the option of camera animation 2, camera animation 5, camera 6. I believe this is camera 6 in the scene. So I'm just going to select that. And now I can just press the link button in the top right, and I just slowly move the camera to try and get it. And now it's linked to the scene. And as you can see, I'm now controlling the camera within the scene. If I drag this window over so you can see it better. So you can see I am now looking around my scene, and now I've got like realistic camera movement. So if I press play, you will see the camera moving, but we don't want to do that. What we want to do is when we hit record, it's going to start playing the animation, so the original keyframes on the empty sort of axis here, which I've animated to walk forwards. If I just click on it, you will see all my keyframes here. They kind of lead us in a very simple way through the scene, separate from the camera head, which we're looking around with. Typically, I would also, by the way, parent the flashlight. You can see the light just on the camera attached because it's parented. I would usually attach that to the empty, but in this case, I wanted the flash to look like it's coming, or like the torch to look like it's coming from the camera itself. So that's why it's attached in this animation. So to play the scene, we just hit the record button and play. Count down, that's the middle button. And now we're walking around our scene. It's recording the keyframes. We just kind of look around. Just look around our scene. Maybe we'll just do some like random movement. We'll just shake our head. Not that you would, but just to kind of record that movement and show you how it works. And to stop, again, you just press the same button. Now, when that's done, it's unlinked. And if we go to the camera now, we just can click the border here. You can see it's keyframed my movement. So without the phone, it now, if we press play, we'll have my movement from when I was looking around. You'll see the bit where I was kind of like jumping about here, you know. So it's a really good way to get realistic camera movement into your scene away from the whole Shakerfy add-on we've been using for however many years now. So I'm now going to back out of this and we're going to get into the interior. And here we are, the Pizzeria Interior itself, obviously continuing that whole Chuck E. Cheese inspiration. You can see a lot of it here. Now, if we look at the entrance, you can see I've kind of got the rough shape of what it was in the mall exterior, and then I've built around that. I did plan this previously, so I do have a really rough sketch, which I'll show you now, because it went through multiple iterations. So as you can see here, this is my first concept art, basically, for the pizzeria. I know it's really bad. I obviously did it with my mouse, so it's quite hard to even like write the words and whatnot. I just did it in Microsoft Paint, but it gets the job done. It gets, you know, I'm the only one that's gonna be seeing this and using it, really. So you have the entrance that kind of slides across here, and then you got the long wall here. So originally the door was on the other wall, and this is kind of like a weird shape. It's kind of like a pizza slice. It would come in, you have the prize corner on the left side, the kitchen on the left side, drinks area, and like a salad bar with some tables and booths here. More tables and booths. The whole, what's it called? It's called the showroom. I don't know why I struggle with that. The showroom area is pretty much the same. It's just slightly further over and has more of this sort of triangular shape, you could say. which would lead you to the same security office and then the bathroom door. So this is pretty much the same. It just had an extra exit bit on the other end. So this is very close to the one we ended up getting in the actual video, because I was working with this for a long time until I started shuffling some stuff around because I felt like things didn't fit right. But you have the entrance on the same side, the prizes in the kitchen are all in the same place, you have the drinks area with another like salad bar type table thing, and then some booze on the side, with a door at the very end that leads to the security office. Now, there's no toilets or hallway on this one because it's over here. The toilets used to be just next to the back room, which was like backstage. So you would go into the toilets, and at the end, like the safe room in the first FNAF game, the back room was kind of attached to the end of the toilet hall. And then obviously you'd have the male and female toilets just here. Got the arcade area. And then the final iteration, obviously what we got was it was probably the worst drawing slash sketch I've done. But if we take a look at it, you can see this is the final design for the most part. Obviously I added some things as I went along, but you got the entrance here, you got your 4 windows along the front, you got your 1 window on the side along with the entrance just here, you got a hallway with the toilets here. For some reason, I added the toilet doors on the side of the showroom, which obviously wouldn't make any sense. So I don't know why I did that in this sketch. I probably meant to put it this side, but I wasn't thinking. And then you've got the salad bar, the drinks, and everything else is pretty much in the same place. With the back room, though, is on this side, which, as you can imagine, I put the version 2 and version 3 kind of in the same... I kind of mixed them. So this would be the security room with the back room just coming off here. We also have things like the newspaper. So here you can see we got the custom newspaper that I made. I just did this in Photoshop. We got like some like rough paper background, missing children. These are actually just copy pasted from the news clippings that you see in the original FNAF game, the whole like backstory and whatnot. You got the 5 local children reportedly lured to the back room, such and such. And then this image I just rendered from the actual scene itself, just outside the pizzeria. And if I might say so myself, this looks very realistic. Here we have some more posters. You've got Freddy Fazbear's, again, because I didn't call it Freddy Fazbear's Pizza or anything like that. It's got my own logo that's kind of meant to look like the Chuck E. Cheese one. Like Chuck E. Cheese, you've got Freddy Fazbear's. You get the idea. Let's party. The model itself was just rendered. I just posed the model, rendered it out, put it in Photoshop, and then added like a couple things to the background. We've then got rock and roll, got Bonnie winking. I just thought it was a cool thing. Freddy Fazbear's again. Pizza pie with pizza in the background. Playtime with Foxy. And let's eat with the cupcake, Mr. Cupcake. On top of that, I did, like I said, I changed some from the movie where I just would like replace this area with the Freddy Fazbear's logo. So as you can see, the animation's pretty much the same. You got the camera movement that's already been rendered, again, put into 3.6 and then converted to 4.2. We just kind of walk around looking at the posters and stuff on the wall. You can see the camera moving around the scene. Got a lot of the arcade games back here as well. In post-production, I did also add a lot of sounds to do with the FNAF mini games, which I thought was quite a cool like addition. So like over all the ambience of the arcade normally, I also tossed in about 3 or 4 different mini game soundtracks just so it felt like they were the FNAF arcade machines. You might also recognize this ball pit. I made this ball pit, obviously inspired by the one which is in FNAF 6, but I used it in my Into the Pit video, which I did a while ago now. You can see you got these nice big open windows just here. This big square here is the Freddy Fazbear cutout, which again, just done in Photoshop. Just cropped around him and then put him as the image plane with a little prop up at the back, a little triangle. See, we walk into the room. You've got the plates and stuff on the table, which makes it look really dirty, just like this place was just left abandoned. No one bothered to clean it up before closing down. And then here you have that back room. You come around the side, you enter from here. You've got a lot of chairs and things. I think there'll be a few adjustments that need to be made for future videos, just because I've got an idea that I won't spoil, but it will connect certain areas. Heading to where the office should be, you know, there's nothing in there for now. Again, something that you may see in a future video, future upload. Keep an eye out for that. But yeah, for the most part, I'm very proud of its layout. I'm very proud of its design. I think I kept true to it being quite small while not too cramped. It's got enough going on. Now I think we'll move on to the next bit, which we see the images of the children. How did I do that? So here is the final images. You know, you can see you got this film effect on it and stuff with the eyes scribbled out. This is meant to be like Cassidy and Fritz, for example, right? It's one of the last. It's the first image that's shown, but the timeline works back because it shows the images. So it's the last murder that took place, then the middle murder, then the first murder, which obviously would be Susie. Here I have another one. You can see it in full, and the other. Right. So outside of this, we do have the originals, which was this. So, you know, I started with pictures from an old Chuck E. Cheese, of course, why wouldn't I? And you see you've got two kids here, which I would like crop out in Photoshop and, you know, I'd feather it and make sure it looked clean and smooth. Same went for this one. You can see this is one of the children again, which would be with Springtrap. So here we have the previous image. You can see the two kids have just been flipped around and the background is now missing. The same goes for like the one that's meant to be Susie. Now in the finalized one, she's actually crying like this. Simply just done with AI. You can do it as a Photoshop tool. I just kind of like selected the face and just put crying and it just does what you need it to do. Then these are the images without the filter. You can see they look a bit rough until you add the final filter, which I'll get to in a minute. But you can see things like this. If I go into the scene and I turn on the like textures, you can see she's just inserted into the scene as an image plane. The same thing was done for the other scenes, like for example with the one with like William over the kids like this. I just literally did the Springtrap movie model, the fixed version, and then you have the image plane of the kids on either side of his arms, just under his arms, and have them coming over, just to make it look realistic. And then I would render this scene because she's obviously in the back room. This would be before dying. You can also see this is obviously the original image before I made her look like she's crying, because obviously her dog's dead, and that's the whole concept with Susie, right? So once that's rendered out, you, like I said before, you end up with these images. And by putting them through some sort of app on your phone, there's a lot of different filter apps. You can literally just create something like this in no time, or even like this, for example, which is again the original image, which was uncensored. I just felt like it was a bit too much after viewing them. It just felt too realistic and a bit too disturbing for me. Hence why just scribbling over the eyes, I don't know, there's something about it that just made it feel less intense for YouTube's sake. Well, oh, and I also forgot to show you also have this variation of Chica where she's like melting. You see the tears run down her face, and then the eyes will hollow out, which is just showing that the spirit's like sad and also possessing Chica. That's the whole point of that ending. Okay, so this is the final shot, if I just remove the ceiling here, where, you know, you can see the puppets kind of in the room, but we also have all the suits that have been stuffed, and we even have models of some of the children just kind of shoved in there. Just kind of literally just made it look like they were just plopped into the suits. If I just can drag one of these out. I know that the whole thingy is a bit off, like the axis, but it works. It did the job. Like you can see this guy's in a really awkward position, but you only see this much of it anyway. He's got his arm wrapped around one of the endoskeletons. Same goes for Susie and Chica and Jeremy and Bonnie and whatnot. But yeah, if I just turn on textures real quick as well. So here we go. You can see puppet just dancing around. I believe this was for my final shot where the puppet appears, because I did render that separately. But if we ignore that for a minute, you can see the blood stains on the suits as well. Obviously, I just took the normal movie models. If I head into shading over here, I literally just applied what was it? If I went to object, texture paint, that was it. Just made it red, as you can see here, and just literally just started covering the thing like so. I can even change like the brush size, and I can like, you know, do smaller ones, and I just make it look like drizzle. But yeah, that is how very simply I added. To some areas I couldn't quite get it to work. It's not a tool I'm used to using. I was just messing around in the software. You can see on Chica's thing it does look a bit weird here, but it still works. It still does the job. And yeah, that's basically how I did the bloodstains. As you can see on Golden Freddy here, it just did not want to work. And I'm still kind of figuring out that tool, but it did what I needed to do, and I'm sure I'll know it when I've messed around with it more in future. But yeah, and then the rest of this map has been kind of deconstructed because I wanted to save some like RAM usage and things. You know, they weren't going to be seen in the scene. They weren't going to be seen in the scene, so there was no need to have them there, and it just sped up render time from something that was already taking quite a while. You can see over here with things like the walls and the textures, they're like PBR textures, so you can see that they have, you know, the base color, roughness, and then the normal, and these are all sort of maps that you can make yourself in Photoshop quite simply, but you can also use multiple online sources to download packs for these things as well. Regardless, that is a breakdown of my FNAF tape. I don't think there's anything I really missed. I mean, I can kind of just show you the title card, which obviously I'm quite happy with, where you have the logo all lit up in its glory. Obviously I've got the font for Valox in the style of the FNAF movie, also printed for the created by scene. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helps in some sort of way and gives you an insight as to what it looks like behind the scenes, I guess. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please like, subscribe, and if you want to see like more of an actual tutorial in future, let me know in the comments below and I'll consider it. But yeah, take care.